Hi guys, I got a treat for you today. Some of you, if you've been watching me long enough, might actually remember Megan, who used to actually do all my filming and always forget to turn the audio on.
Not always, like 75% of the time.
No. If anything, I'll give her 98% of the time, if anything.
I was just seeing if people were paying attention.
That's true. But she actually has left me as far as that working relationship goes, and she has her own businesses. One is in bridal veils. I'll let you explain that more. But the other, she and her husband opened up an automotive body shop. And I'm going to let you talk about that.
Okay.
I asked her to come in and join us today because now we are starting to feel the impact of the tariffs. And when Megan called me the other day, she said, Mom, did you see what was going on with DHL and all my bridal? And I was talking to my factory in China. And so I asked her to come on and have this conversation with us. But what I'm also going to do in here is invite you to have this conversation. Who out there has had the impact or felt the impact of the tariffs? So Megan, I'm going to kind of turn the floor over to you, and I don't know which place you want to start, whether it's the automotive or the bridal, and what you're hearing from your factory in China. And
well, I have I have a wedding company, and I manufacture my goods in 2 factories in China. And so with the tariffs and with everything going on, it's been a little bit challenging to say the least. Typically if I had a rush order, I could get it in a week if I needed it. My factory does custom items, so they would make it and ship it, and I'd have it 3 days with DHL. Now there is suspended shipping from China. I had to get all my orders shipped prior to the 25th, just a few days ago. Mm-hmm. And we are having to be more strategic with future orders. It cannot be shipped with some of the big carriers because of the tariffs that will be imposed. And I have to ship much smaller parcels at different times to get them through without huge consequences financially.
That kind of goes with the experience that I just had the other day when I was trying to order some new sandals. And this came up due to customs delays. So that's what they're calling it, customs delays. DHL is currently unable to fulfill orders over $800 pre-tax dollars. Yeah. If your order exceeds this amount, please split into 2 separate transactions. Otherwise, checkout won't be possible. So is that the kind of thing that you're talking about?
Yes. So I have 2 factories in China. One of them I pay via PayPal, and I've always paid them that way. The other uses a China payment processing system. On my end as the customer, it's never been an issue. I just they give me the order details, I put my credit card in, check out, they ship, it's done. Now I cannot use that platform, so I've had to pay them via other ways. It's totally shut down. There's no access to Americans with this system, or other countries, I'm not sure. I'm just speaking for myself, but right. I can't even put orders in that way anymore. And then I had one pending order that did not get shipped prior to the 25th, and that got canceled. I got refunded, and I had to reorder it a different way, and it's ready to ship just so that they could ship it. And now they are shipping it, and I don't have a tracking number like I normally do. Ooh. They put all 8s as a tracking number. Yeah, so I have no idea how it's coming to me, when it's getting to me. I don't have the ability to follow it like I did previously. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I cannot take any more rush orders. We don't know how long this is going to last. So both my factories have requested that I do not put in any orders that will take more than 3 months to arrive.
Wow. And is there an amount limit, like on there? It's like if it's over $800, don't do it.
Yeah, they're shipping me really small packages. The package I got, my last package via DHL, arrived yesterday, and it had maybe 10 orders in it. Usually I get these huge like super tightly bound, cellophane wrapped. I mean, they're huge, and they have like 30, 40, 50 orders in it, depending on what the items are. But yeah, they're very small. I don't even know what my next order's even gonna look like or how many items are in it, because I have different items. I have gowns, which have a higher price point, and then I have accessories, which are a much lower price point. So I'm still, I'll report back how that arrives, because I don't even know.
Well, that's actually really interesting, but let me ask you about pricing. And have you noticed, because of the tariffs, have they added any more on, or what's happened with your costs?
Nothing yet, because this just happened as of 3 days, or today's the 29th, the 25th. So I haven't experienced anything like that yet, but I also, because I do all custom pieces, I think they have a little bit more flexibility on how they're priced, whereas like companies like Shine and Temu, where they're shipping huge pallets, I mean thousands of units, they're really getting hit. I read an article that Shine's prices are going to go up 100, or if they haven't already gone up 137%. So just I know a lot of brides will buy things off of those websites for their wedding. So just that expense passed on to the bride is going to be a game changer just for the industry in general.
Well, you've been in the bridal industry since when? Oh,
2007.
Yeah. Oop. Sorry about that.
We're live.
Sorry. Yeah,
Is that Whitney calling? I'm kidding.
No, but actually it's kind of funny, because years and years ago, Megan would always forget to turn my phone off before filming, right? And everything was live.
Yeah.
And so one of the time, this is my favorite time, but there are two of my favorite things. One, she crawled, she was wearing white jeans that day, and she crawled behind my desk to turn off my phone. And when you looked at the video, what you saw was her white butt going this way.
I thought it was
going that way.
I thought it was more stealth than that. I really did. I just couldn't crawl on my knees because I didn't want to get the knees of my white jeans dirty. So I had to like do a plank army crawl thing, which was more like downward dog, apparently.
Apparently it was. But everybody loved that. It was funny. And then the other time was when I got disgusted and I just reached and turned the phone off, but she went down in front of the desk and all you saw was this disembodied hand. And then I was reading the comments and it kept making reference to thing. And I'm like, what are they talking about? And then when I looked at the video, you could definitely see that thing reference. Yeah. It was funny. Other than that, I pretty much fired you every other day.
I kept coming back.
Yes, you did. She's never going away. She's my baby.
Yeah.
Okay, but at any rate, going back to this, because I really hope that people are making comments that have had this same kind of experience that you're having, because it's not just you, but governments and central banks always like distance between their policy and when it's rolled out to the public. In this particular instance, I mean, there is not a whole lot of distance, and there are reports that small businesses particularly, and then Amazon, I guess, intimated over one place or the other that they were going to do this, where they were actually going to break out the tariff tax on the bill so that the consumer would actually understand that that's why the prices went up. Because usually, so I want you to speak to this, but usually when prices go up, consumers think it's the business that's raising the prices, right? They don't think about it's all of the pieces that go into creating this and running a business that really force you to raise the prices.
Yeah.
But my thought is, if tariff taxes are actually a line item on there, that the public is going to start seeing that.
Yeah.
Amazon, somebody said that Amazon was going to, the White House came out and said that that was an act of like political terror. Amazon denies it, but let's see, White House calls Amazon hostile for reportedly planning to list tariff costs. Because again, don't look behind the curtain. Don't understand what part of these choices. And I'm not making any judgment on whether they should or they shouldn't. The reality is we need a big crisis because we have to go into a new system. and this could do it. So I'm staying purely economic, but it is definitely people, if they notice it and they notice the tariff inflation, will that help them now look at all inflation as possibly not even necessary?
I don't know how they're gonna see it.
If when you have that, are you going to break out that line item? Had you thought about that,
I
or how you might?
I haven't thought about it. I actually thought about really reining back just because of the tariffs, just because I have the automotive collision center and I'm really, really busy there. And we're seeing things there too.
That's where I wanted to go next. But reining back, let's just stay here for one more second, right? Because I think that this is how it's really going to impact everybody, is that we saw barren shelves in the 2020 COVID crisis. But those supply chains were not fully fixed or fully changed, right? And so now when you're talking about pulling back, isn't that an indication that we have more of those empty shelves in our future?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot, at least for my customers. They buy direct from me to get that better price point. So that all of these issues with Amazon, with Shein, with mine, it's all going to create a trickle down effect, and brides aren't going to be buying it's either going to clear the shelves or it's going to keep the shelves stocked, because they're going to see that extra line item, or they're going to see those higher prices and they have a budget and they're not going to spend.
Yeah.
They'll do without a veil, or they'll do without confetti poppers, or, they're going to cut a lot of those products out of their wish list, essentially. Because everybody's costs are going up. The DJs, the catering, obviously costs have been going up for a while. So,
well, for your whole life and my whole life, and since 1913 by design.
Yeah.
But now you think it's really going to have a much bigger impact?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Because everything is brought in from at least from China, at least in my industry. Most wedding dresses, there are some that are made in the Ukraine, but the bulk of them, especially with like the major designers, the big label designers, those are all manufactured in China.
Yeah.
So I've been seeing some notices that they've put out with prices going up, and I've read some of their internal that are on some of my blogs that I'm a part of, and all the prices are going up, and that's just going to affect. It's just the trickle down, It's going to affect everything, and people, I think, are going to spend less. They're going to go with a cheaper option, and because they can't afford it. It's hard to pay for a wedding in general.
Yeah. Do you know what the average cost of a wedding is
these
days?
It's like $35,000.
That's a lot of money.
Yep. And that's for like a traditional like cookie cutter. That's not for like any special things. I got married in 2020.
I'm sorry,
I got married in 2020, but I had the wedding in 2021 because of COVID. And just that brunch for 70 people was
a lot.
A lot.
But she's worth it, so I don't mind. But the point is that that trickle down, meaning then not only are the businesses making less money, that also means how anxious are they going to be to hire?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So how is that going to impact unemployment? But now let's go to your other business that you work with, and why don't you explain what that is and what you're seeing there?
So my husband's been in automotive for his whole life, and his dream was always to open his own collision center. So we were fortunate enough to do that in 2023, and it's been amazing. But what I'm seeing now are parts are more expensive, and we are getting some denials on insurance, paying the full markup on the parts. Shipping is super expensive, and there's been much more delays. I used to get Tesla parts in 7 days. Now they're 3 weeks. And if they don't come, we'll get an ETA when we order them, and they don't update the ETA until the ETA is missed. Which
wow.
then, talking about the trickle down effect, then the repair takes longer, the customer's in a rental car longer, it costs the insurance more money to supply the repair, and so they're really cracking down. And so how it works if you do an insurance claim is you put in a first initial estimate, what you can see, and then once you disassemble it, there's a supplement. So we're getting a lot of pushback on what they're paying for on the supplements. That's usually the part invoices, any third-party vendors, but they're pushing back on everything because legally they have to pay the parts invoice. So now they're coming after like services, and they're denying services, like the calibrations at the end. We're fortunate enough where we own our calibration machine, but most shops don't. It's very expensive equipment. And so they bring in a third party, and that third party will give them a bill, and it's hundreds of dollars to calibrate these high-tech, really any car now, even Hyundais or so with their sensors and everything.
Yeah. So
then we submit that to the insurance company, and they are refusing to pay. Before we had our piece of equipment, I submitted a $425 calibration, and they only paid $200 of it. And they're flat out refusing, and I think it's to mitigate
offset
the expense on the higher price of the parts delays, which every delay, it costs more money when you're working with insurance. Every delay.
So if the insurance company is refusing to pay some of these, who has to pay them?
Well, if you don't do your research and take your vehicle to a shop like ours, it's passed to the customer. I've been reading more and more on the blogs where customers drop their car off for repair, and they get the final bill. It either will not get approved by insurance, it'll get partially approved by insurance, or you won't have any approval yet. And so the auto body shop will then hold that vehicle, it's the collateral, until they get a final bill approval from the insurance. So you're kicked out of your rental. So if the auto body shop is getting paid and they're holding your vehicle, either you have to pay that final bill, so they release the vehicle, or you're out of any type of transportation until the insurance company pays the bill. And
if they don't pay the bill,
then it's passed to the customer. We don't do that at our shop, but we'll fight with the insurance company as long as we need to. But I've definitely had to sacrifice several $100s on final bills just to close out the file.
And get the car off your lot, because doesn't it cost you money to have them? And doesn't the insurance company, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know really that much about this part of your business, but doesn't the insurance company pay a certain amount of rent for the space for you to hold the car?
Only if the vehicle is deemed a total loss.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
During the repair, there's no storage fees. There's nothing like that. But the customer is typically in a rental car, so it's a daily rate that's cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Right. And either the customer is going to run out of rental because they have policy limits, or the insurance. I just had a fight in a big insurance company for a not fault party, and when you're not at fault, nothing should cost you any money. You should be in the rental for the length of the repair. I warned the insurance company this car is going to be hard to get parts for. It's a rare Fiat car, and with all the tariffs and everything, I warned them, and I was following up. We've had the car since January 23rd.
Wow.
Finally got a hold of someone. They said they would only approve they said they would only approve 30 days of rental. And I had to push back, and I said, I've been communicating to you. Nobody's communicated only 30 days of technically that's illegal. He's legally entitled to a rental car being not at fault. You've not communicated any constraints on the rental. So I told the adjuster, I go, look, we can figure this out right now, and I'll handle the customer, or I'm going to call the customer and you're going to stick him with a $4,000 bill because that's what it was up to, and he's going to be your problem. But I had to take that route, which I don't really like to do. But
right.
Can I jump in? Sorry, along the lines of the insurance, someone in the chat asks, is there not a way, low blood pressure says, can you delay insurance payments at all? Like, is there anything you can do to push that out and still make a deal?
I was able to negotiate, and so he extended the rental through the end of the week. And my shop is different than other shops. We have our own fleet of courtesy vehicles, and I knew I was getting one back from a completed repair. So then I went ahead and put the customer in one of my vehicles, complimentary, until we finish his repair, which should be done this week. So we finally got the last part yesterday. But most, I'm speaking from my shop, but most shops don't have courtesy vehicles, so that he would just be without a rental.
Or calibration machines.
Or calibration machines, or alignment machines. We have a lot that we're state of the art. But
So and
just
we
because
can-
I can control the cost, that's really why we have all of these items, because I can't control a third party vendor's cost.
Right.
Their costs are going up. I can't control what the insurance pays, but I can control what my costs are. So just looking forward,
degree.
because to a degree.
To a degree.
But because my mother is who my mother is, I'm aware of things in the world. So it's just kind of like a crystal ball almost. 'Cause-
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
is
really.
helpful.
And then all again, just because someone in the comments said interesting
yeah.
discussion about car repair snooze, but it's like these are all very relevant because these are all what you're talking about. These problems in the auto industry and dealing with insurance is all in the wake of the tariffs.
Yeah.
And so, like, while some people might be stuck with a bill, if they're buying shoes or whatever else, like, the other people are literally having their lives affected
Yeah.
because of tariffs that affect the auto industry, that
affect
insurance,
their-
so it's like,
yes.
it's just this huge snowball effect. And so, while it might
Yeah.
seem like it's not relevant, like car repairs, like, this affects people's lives
Yeah.
Right.
every day.
Yeah.
And it's a basic thing. That's why I asked you to come on, because this is something that everybody's going to have to deal with. Maybe you're not getting married. I'm not getting married, and she takes care of my car, so I don't really have to worry about any of that. But, even so, it's not just in these two areas.
Yeah.
And this is about prepping. I was asking Josh and Mimi earlier, and I said, do I look like a prepper? And the answer is no. And that wasn't my normal tendency. However, you have to understand, I live my life in these numbers, and I have my whole life. And it gives me a kind of perspective, understanding how to read that technical language of the markets and get into position while you have the opportunity. And that may be a snooze because it would take a long time to do. But let me tell you, I'd rather be 20 years too early. You've heard me say this a gazillion times.
Yeah.
I'd rather be 20 years too early than even 1 second too late.
Yeah.
And it isn't just in automotive, and it isn't just in bridal, right? It is right across the board. And even when, like, President Trump to sign order later Tuesday easing auto tariff impact, well, some of them. But, we've got the two.
And yeah, that's on like new cars and auto bringing in cars from overseas.
Right. But we have the two largest economies in the world that are locked in battle right now.
Yeah. And it's very interesting when I talk to my factories in China, because you can tell that they know that people are watching and listening. So when I ask
How do you know?
very direct questions, they have very loyal answers.
Did you bring your phone in?
Yeah, but I mean, I message with them like a million times a day.
I know.
So
Oh,
I was
never
asked.
mind,
So
sorry.
one of them was, I was asking. This was actually before all these tariffs and before. So it was a while ago. I was just asking my representative at one of my main factory. I was like, they work 6 days a week. It's crazy. And I said, well, would you ever want to move? And she's like, to the US was her response. And I'm like, yeah, like, would you ever want to leave China? And she said, no. Oh no, she would never leave. And we've been working together for so long. We know so much about each other. And I just knew that wasn't what her response would be.
But you don't know who's watching.
Right.
And this is not just true, really with China.
Yeah.
In general, you really don't know, especially taking us into a full surveillance economy. Mm-hmm. You just
Well,
really
recently
don't know.
I just asked her, what should I be? This was when all of this talk was happening, and I'm like, what should I be worried about? And she just said, she responded with, you should be worried about Trump. Why is Trump so crazy? That was her response.
Yeah.
So she doesn't want, with all of these changes and all of this craziness, she still is making it like there's no issue on their side. It's all only on our side.
Well, Josh, didn't you show you gave me that table, you know which one I'm talking about? The table on the tariffs and how they calculated them?
Yeah. So
Can you put that, is there a way
let me
for you
pull
to
it
put
up.
that up? Of confiscation. Oh, that will never happen again. In the face of it actually happening, you're just not recognizing it. Shall we take some questions?
Yeah.
And you can ask Megan questions. You can ask me questions. We'll just rock and roll. And if you want my wonderful, gorgeous daughter to leave, then she can do that too. But it's a treat for me to see her during the week, and especially this is the first time she's been in my studio for a while. But we do, you know what, before we do that, will you do this celebration for us?
This?
Because last week, that.
Okay.
Because last week, Florida legalized gold and silver as legal tender. Yay!
Dang!
Woohoo! That is a huge victory, and I'm so excited and so happy to be able to say that, and I'd like to say it more and more. So we'll put the email or the website on where you can track it, the Sound Money Movement tracking, so you can see what's going on in your state, and let's work to get gold and silver as legal tender in all of the states. That will put pressure on the federal government to do it. And after all, let's have a legal sound money movement, and quiet and peaceful. And all you have to do is take out your crappy fiat money and convert it into sound money, physical gold and silver that cannot be inflated away. Okay, now we can take questions.
And it's really beautiful, and it's really fun to hold in your hand.
Would you like to do that? It is really
Wait.
beautiful.
Okay, gotta go. Just kidding. It's so awesome.
It really is, you know, and I miss Megan not working with me anymore. But, you know,
I'll still push elevator buttons for you.
Thank
all
you.
day long.
And she's my daughter, and and she's got 2 businesses. She doesn't have time for me. Okay, let's take some questions.
Time for questions.
Okay, so this is from Daniel, which is a client of Sari Puwazik, one of our strategy specialists. So how Bitcoin is backed by Treasury, which supports the system, not the freedom of currencies. Well, Bitcoin doesn't. I mean, they show it as if it's a piece of gold when it's just an algorithm and an absolutely intangible asset. So, I mean, are they going to back that? Are you asking me, can they back that by treasuries? You mean like the dollar was? And, I'd like to kind of point out something that I've really been seeing. And I just did this piece, and I don't know if it's the piece we did this morning is coming out Thursday that we recorded this morning. Saturday. Okay, so you'll get a chance to see this cover of Time with Nixon running in to save the dollar, which actually then shortly after that he took us off the gold standard. Didn't save the dollar at all. But what I found really interesting, and I hadn't looked at this cover in a while, but it actually depicts the dollar as gold.
Oh.
I know, right? Because it's that vernacular, We might not be used to sound money in our system because if you were born anytime after 33, you never held it as money. And so there's lots of generations that were born. But whenever they want to take us into something new, what do?
Yeah.
They depict it as gold so that you perceive that, hey, this is just like gold. Mm-hmm. And have they not depicted Bitcoin?
Yes.
Here's a Bitcoin in here, but do they not depict that as, as digital gold?
Yeah.
It ain't digital gold, right? Used in one place, uses up energy. As long as there's demand. And when there's not, poop, it goes to nothing. So, they can back it by treasuries, but you saw how well that did for the purchasing power of the dollar. At best, it will postpone everything. And I don't think it's going to be Bitcoin anyway. I think they're really pushing this stable coin, which isn't really stable, but it is backed by dollars on a one-to-one basis. So people think that it's stable, foreign countries do, but when you look at the purchasing power chart of the US dollar, is not so stable. It's just going down, 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 down. That's actually the real trend. So they can try anything, but the reality is this is not going to be easy. Resets are never, ever, ever easy. But they will transition us unless we say, if we have 3% of the population to buy gold, we got a seat at the table, perhaps.
Yeah.
So we can actually, you've known me your whole life, right? It's almost incomprehensible for me to think that we could actually have an impact on the global monetary system. And yet I think we actually could have an impact on the global monetary system if enough of us come together.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it for her and for her son and her kids. She's got 3 for all the kids and for all the kids that they're going to have, and down and down and down the line. We've got to do this for everybody.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's see. George asks, could you please explain what counterparty risk is? Okay, so there's a few in here, so I'll do one at a time. Counterparty risk is in a contract. You are counting on the person on the other side of that contract to fulfill their obligations of that contract. So that's the counterparty. The risk is whether or not they will actually fulfill those obligations. In intangible markets, or even talking about the dollar, or actually any fiat money, is a debt instrument. So what backs a currency but the full faith and credit of the government, right? This is true anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So as long as you trust them, you have faith, you will continue to loan them money, extend them credit. Well, just by you loaning them money, that creates that contract. So if you have a bill in your wallet right now and you pull it out and you look at the top of that bill, what you're going to see is Federal Reserve note. So you are counting on the Federal Reserve to actually fulfill its obligations of that debt instrument. Now, can the government just print more money to pay all those debts? Sure they can. But what happens every time they do is what's already out there loses value. So that's the counterparty risk in our monetary system. And I believe that it was J.P. Morgan that actually said, only gold is sound money. Everything else is credit. So you can also think about it like a credit card. The credit company is counting on you paying your bill. If you don't, that's the counterparty risk. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, let Josh know and he'll let me know and I'll try and explain it a little differently. And what is QE? That is, everybody asks what's QE, right? That is quantitative easing. This is what, please, thank you. Help me do this. That's what QE is. Just printing and printing and printing and printing and flooding the system with money. Very similar to what caused the Roaring 20s when gold used to be backed by this itty bitty, $1 was backed by this itty teeny bitty 20th of an ounce of gold. When they installed the Federal Reserve, they then allowed them to print $2.4 for every 20th of an ounce of gold. And so it went from $1 to 2.4, and they printed all that money, just like that QE, just shooting out all of that money. That puts all that money into the system, and it makes the nominal price, the number price, rise. So people feel rich and they feel like they're really getting something. Oh, isn't this great? It's like the stock market going up. Whoop-de-doo. But the foundation is going down in terms of purchasing power, which is really what matters. I don't have it out here, but you guys know my $10 trillion Zimbabwe note. Your mom is a trillionaire in Zimbabwe.
I think I was with you when they gave you that note at that event we were at in Texas. I was there.
Yeah, I think
somebody,
you were.
a fan brought
but
it to
actually,
you.
I think it was Bolivar's.
Oh, yeah.
It was Bolivar's.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Either way, because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yep.
So QE is just massive amounts of money printing. Easiest way to think about it. And what does it mean to lease gold? How does that work? Okay, well, Fort Knox has a whole bunch of, well, presumably, and they probably do, has a whole bunch of gold in there. So when they lease it, well, then the government can take money for it, but it's not like they ship the gold out. They don't. They just have a contract on it. Now, it's kind of like you go to the spot market. The spot gold market is a contract market, right? It's not really a physical market. And so what they're doing is they're creating lots and lots of gold that does not nor ever will exist, but they lease it into existence. So the market reads as if there's all of this gold there when they don't. And that's really how that works. So they lease it out, it makes it appear like there's a whole bunch more gold. And that's why when I say when they're going to audit the Fed or audit Fort Knox rather, okay, that's fine. They can walk in that room and they can see all the bars stacked up. But who really owns those bars? What have they been leased out? Have they taken back owner? I mean, nobody knows. I want to see the audit trail. That's what I want to know, do we really own the gold in Fort Knox? Of course, possession's 9/10 of the law, and that takes us back to counterparty risk. Oops, nope, you can't have it. Right? That takes us back to counterparty risk. And would a country who buys our debt do so for a fee? Well, the reason why I think they do so is and I can't show you this now, but definitely make sure that you watch the video this coming Saturday, because I brought up, you remember the volatility, the 10-year Treasury volatility chart? Yep. So I'm talking about that and showing you how at one point the Treasury price moves did not, right? They were just like a dash. And so that means that it didn't move, the price did not move up or down very quickly. So if you were buying or you were selling treasuries, you pretty much knew what you were going to pay and what you were going to get for it if you sold. Then when 2008 hit, well, that changed everything. And as Megan can verify, that's when I started saying the system died. And I got rid of my little 2-bedroom condo, right?
Yeah.
That I was going to just retire and walk away from. And I brought this property and I became a prepper, right?
Yeah.
And did you not think I was out of my mind?
I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And so does, she's got a twin sister, Whitney. Both of them, they gave me such a hard time. But she is the one that found the bug out location. I will say that, sicking her on that, she did a good job.
That was
And she probably thought,
luck.
did you think I was kind of crazy on that one too?
Oh, the whole drive up there, I was like, I don't feel comfortable with you doing this on your own. It was not a road.
Right.
Not a road.
Right.
Crazy.
So,
But now you're like, you haul up that road. I'm like, geez, slow down.
yeah. So let's see. So would a country who buys our debt do so for a fee? They may, because there are certainly countries that's like, why are you buying all of this debt? But Japan and China are no longer, I'm not saying that they aren't buying some, but they started liquidating and not buying as many treasuries in 2013, which I think is really interesting, because that's when the volatility on the treasuries really started to spike. Perhaps it's because we had two stable buyers that backed off from the market, or maybe the market was just handed over to traders. I'm not really sure which. Oh, this is for you, Megan.
Yeah.
Oh,
What is the best advice your mom gave you about gold that you carry with you and changed your life? I think the best advice and the most clear way to explain it that I take from you is that it's insurance. It's not a trade. So get it and hold it. And
Yeah.
that would be the best advice. And knowing that we have that insurance is very calming in such a crazy world.
I'll also put this out too. Do you remember when I started buying you gold jewelry?
Oh, yeah. I was young.
Yeah, you were like, I
or
think 11 or
preteen,
12 or
yeah.
something like that. And do you remember, which I was very excited about it. It was a big deal to me because I put it on layaway and they're going to love this. The girls are going to love this. How did you feel when I gave you that first jewelry? They didn't fess up to me until years later.
Well, I mean, I was young, so I didn't really know what it was, but it was an interesting choice for an 11-year-old. But weirdly enough, though, Warner really likes gold and silver.
Yes, he does.
He really,
Yes, he does.
really wants it and has it tucked away, and he really loves it.
He does.
Yeah.
But do you still
But
have...
he's a mini you.
He is
for
a
sure.
mini me.
Yeah.
But do you still have those rings and
Yeah.
the jewelry
Yeah.
that I bought? Right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I did that was so that no matter where they went, they would always have money with them. Now you can pass it down to Christina if you want, or Lily, or what
Yeah.
have you. Or if you needed to liquidate it, have you ever had...
No.
I'm going to ask her, and don't say no, because you remember you were through a little challenging time, and
Oh, yes, I did. I did sell the jewelry. Yeah.
Right.
You're right. Yeah. Gosh, that was so long ago.
right, it was a very
Yeah.
long time ago. But so to your point, earlier point, that is your savings. If you needed to liquidate some of that to
Yeah.
help survive when you were going through that hard time, that's
Yeah.
what it's there for.
Yeah.
In any form, gold and silver at its base is monetary.
Yeah.
In any form. So, yeah. And Jay Jones asks, Lynette, what's up with the student loans? Oh, yes. and wages being garnished, is this going to speed up the collapse? 100%, Jay, because really since COVID, they've had a lot of the payments on the student loans postponed, but now, nope, they're not postponed anymore, and people have to start paying them. Now, what I find really interesting, but very, very typical, and you might know people or have even done this yourself, you got maxed out credit cards, right? And so you get a consolidation loan. And now all these credit cards have zero balance on here. They're over here and you're paying that debt. And what do you do to those credit cards?
You use them.
That's it.
And you get yourself right back in that same situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those people that had the student loans that were temporarily forgiven, well, they went out and they used that money that they would have put toward loans toward whatever else. And maybe they built up even more debt because it didn't impact their credit scores.
Or this morning, actually, last week I'm getting more organized in our parts department because of all of these shifting things. So we're focusing more on repair rather than replace. And so I didn't really buy a lot of parts last week. And I got an email from American Express, which is my number one card that I pay for parts on, encouraging me to spend more.
What?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
They took off, I mean, I have a crazy high limit anyway, but they emailed me this morning and said, congratulations, you now have no preset spending limit. And I mean, would you like me to say what my preset spending limit was prior?
No.
Okay.
But the fact that they said there's no...
very, very high.
Well, you are running a busy shop. So, yeah, it would be high because you're doing
now
that.
I have none.
So, look, credit card companies are encouraging you to take on more debt.
Yeah.
And let's see, low blood pressure. Your question,
Okay.
Megs.
How was it growing up in a sound money household? How did it change your opinions on finance? So definitely the hold it, own it motto has definitely had an impact on me. We were fortunate enough to purchase our building that we have the collision center in, and we were able to get it very undervalued, which we got really lucky for. So just with the sound money and everything, it gives you a lot of confidence in general. And then once I did buy this commercial building, LZ, I call her, then purchased more gold so that if it needs to be paid off, we have that allocated for me. So that makes me feel really good as well. So
Safe and secure.
Yeah.
But how was it growing up in the household? Because that's what he's really asking.
Well, she's very creative. So it was an amazing childhood growing up. You had a lot of responsibilities.
We had a lot of
responsibilities.
I was a single mom since they were 3.
Yeah, but I never felt like it was not a pleasure to uphold those responsibilities. And, just feeling more secure with the gold and silver is unless you actually purchase gold and silver, I can tell you all day long how it'll feel, but really until you experience it yourself, it really helps you sleep at night knowing that you have this in your back pocket with all this financial mess and everything that's been leading up to this. So I really want to encourage people to start small and just start. And you're going to love it. You're going to want to buy more and more because it's going to make you feel so good.
Yep. Do you know what our minimum is at Zang Enterprises?
I actually do not know.
1 ounce of silver.
Amazing.
That is the minimum.
Amazing. And
Yep.
I am finding that more of my friends are asking me about gold and silver, and more acquaintances are when they find out you're my mom. They're
How's that?
No, they're full. They're so impressed. They're full of questions, which is why I'm dragging you to some of my groups to explain it to them. And I definitely feel like when they do take that plunge, it's only positive. When they buy gold and silver from you, it's only positive.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we are all here to be of service.
Yeah.
And did it change your opinions on finance?
I mean, I've been growing up and I've had it. You've been in my life forever, so I don't know what my opinions on finance would have been like if you hadn't been in my life. So I don't really know how to answer that part of the question, but definitely owning the real estate, definitely owning gold, and
dynastic wealth, right? Yeah. Dynastic wealth has 3 legs. It is real estate, rare collectibles, and gold. And you can do all 3, and I have done all 3.
Yeah, I'm not so much gold. Into the rare collectibles as you are, but I can appreciate them for what they are.
Yes.
And I'm sure once I have a house where kids aren't shooting Nerf guns everywhere, I can have more rare pieces.
But that's okay. You do just fine. And Brian asks, hi, Lynette. When you describe the gold revaluation happening and trading in your gold for quality income producing assets, what are those? Dividend stocks, ETFs, rental real estate, and more. Okay. So what we're looking for is right now, all of those income producing assets are severely overvalued, right? At the same time, you've got gold and silver severely undervalued. That's going to flip flop. But it is income producing real estate, water rights, air rights. So it's rights and mineral rights, things like that. And yes, it would be dividend paying stocks. Let's see who's not a zombie company. Let's see who's actually going to survive this mess, because so much is done off balance sheet. Even if you're looking at their financials, quite honestly, I don't know how much you can trust all of that stuff.
It's just a piece of paper.
It is. So I'm going to leave the jury out on the ETFs part of that, because we just need to really see who and what is actually going to survive this reset. And that's why it's so important to hold your purchasing power, right? So that's the thing. You want to get to safety right now. Safety is not in stocks, and it's not in defense stocks. They just want you to stay put or buy more and all of that. But you can only convert them back into this. You need to go into this and silver, right, for different functions. But you need to hold your purchasing power intact. And then when those opportunities, and as those opportunities arise, and I will show you, and like Megan will tell you, I will tell you, when I am executing that part of the strategy to pay that debt off with dollars that have 0 value, right?
Yeah.
So even if, I know you think you got a bargain, but even if it was overvalued.
Well, I got a bargain in the way it's being valued today. I'll say it that way.
Right, which is nominal. But it makes people feel good, right? I mean, that's the thing. If prices seem like they're going up, well, then you feel really good because now what you have is worth so much more money.
Yeah.
The problem is that this is worth so much less money. So, but it's okay. And I felt comfortable with her doing that.
I definitely needed her permission. Not permission,
well, you
but
didn't need
I needed your support. I was very nervous.
Yes.
I was very nervous.
Yes. And, but like she said, making sure that you have the goal to pay off those fixed rate debt means that you're paying off that debt with dollars that have no value, right? So I wouldn't go out and speculate on real estate right now. However, if you need a place, you always have to have a place to make your last stand, right? So you got to have roof over your head. It's part of what makes you so comfortable.
Yeah.
And Mona asks, short term, consumers will spend in anticipation of price increases. That's actually been what's happening. I am actively buying items for the next few months. Yes, so they'll pull that ahead and it'll make the consumer spending look better. Oh, what a resilient consumer. But if you look at the confidence, the consumer confidence numbers just came out this morning and they are abysmal.
Yeah.
As well as consumer sentiment. Those are two different things, though they're pretty similar. And when you put both of them together, when both of them look abysmal, So yes, I'm glad that you brought that up, Mona, because a lot of people are, and that means they're going to report a resilient consumer, but you know the truth. Why is the consumer spending? They're
and companies are marketing to that. Like,
Totally.
I can't, all the car ads are like, get your new car before the tariffs, and companies are definitely playing on that emotion for sure.
Right. Well, it really does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
If you know the prices are going up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when they fall, because this really is deflationary. It's inflationary first, and then it's deflationary. And there's only one way to fight inflation. And what is that, Meg? Do you remember?
Gold.
Well, that's true. But it's with deflation.
Yeah.
And do you know the way to fight deflation?
How?
With inflation. What? She's been away from me for a few years and she's forgotten everything.
I don't need to. I don't need to remember anything. You remember for me.
It's true. She's lucky. She doesn't.
I'm
have
very
to worry
lucky.
about it.
Very lucky. Yeah.
She's doing that. So, Miramar asks, "Nice, isn't it? How trickle down works with expenses, but not with income. Yeah, isn't it? That's that wealth gap, that income and wealth gap." And Kwamina K, please forgive me if I butcher your name. Why must Americans always find personal solutions for their politicians do that they never said they will do? I don't get political because my message is way more important for that. So we've got to find personal solutions, because otherwise you're at the whim of whatever is going to roll through. But it's more than that, because if we take on our own responsibility to make sure that we are as safe and secure as possible, it's actually, for those that are depending on the government handouts, yeah, there you go. But for those of us that are really saying you need to be as independent and self-sufficient as possible, and we can do this by coming together in community. The politicians, I don't care who's in office. Have I ever cared about that?
No.
Not because every single one, whether they were a Democrat or a Republican, have consistently moved us toward this, because this crisis, this shifting into a new system is where we have to go. And it's by design. And that's what I'm hoping the line item on tariffs is actually all about, because it gets people to look at things just a little different, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not just price increases, but where are these price increases coming from?
Yeah.
So, we've got to have personal solutions. We've got to come together in global community and demand a seat at the table, which means demand a say in the new monetary system. And you know how you do that? Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you're in a position to refuse what they're trying to cram down your throat. Right? If you're dependent on the system, do you have that choice?
No.
But if you have food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, and you're surrounded by a wonderful community, and you've got a decent shelter, I mean, now you can say no when they try and cram it down your throat. That's why we have to do this. Yeah. So, just going back to personal solutions, got to find personal solutions. I can't count on any politician to give a crap about, and I'm old, so I don't even care about my best interest. I don't think they're caring about my daughter's best interest or your daughter's or son's best interest.
Yeah.
So, what does a prepper look like? Isn't that a good question, Eclair Trio? First of all, I love eclairs, especially had one from
Paris.
Yeah. Oh, that was like the best one I ever had in my life. I'm telling you, so good. From Maison du Chocolat. Yeah, that was fun. But preppers look like me and like everybody.
I have chickens
why
now.
Don't you share that?
Yeah, LZ gifted me chickens over the weekend, and they are laying eggs, and they're so happy, and I love them.
Yep. Yeah.
So now I'm a prepper too.
So this is what a prepper looks like. This is what a prepper looks like, and many other visions of a prepper. But I know I asked that question earlier because people have this image of, like preppers that are just sort of golly, you know, and, from the sticks or I don't know, but it's just not true.
Yeah.
Anybody can be a prepper, and frankly, everybody should be prepping.
Yeah.
Because you've got to get through what we're about to have to go through.
Yeah.
I wonder where all the toilet paper is made. We should probably look at that, Brittany. Where is most of the toilet paper made?
Yeah. Well, it's like all these other countries, they might not even make the complete product, but they can make a component of a complete product.
Yeah.
And so it's going to affect everything, whether it's a finished good or a partially sourced good.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. And Uber Guy asks, what do you think of companies like Silver Coin or Silver Token? Are they reputable? Should I put some of my silver into this? What is made in U.S. factories? Okay, well that's good news, guys.
But only 90%.
90%.
Not 100.
Okay, well, but that's okay. 90%. Well, why did we run out of toilet paper during COVID?
I don't know.
Why do we always run out of toilet paper during a crisis?
Because it's a necessity.
I don't know, but we always do.
Well, you have lots of those leaves at the cabin. What are those leaves called?
Lamb's tongue.
Yeah. We're set.
We're set. Okay. I am actually not familiar with Silver Coin or Silver Token, Uber Guy, but I will tell you that I will take a look at this pretty quickly. And is there some way to respond, or is there some way for Uber Guy to get a hold of us so that we can respond back, or yes?
I'll message him in the chat.
Okay, so I'll get answers for you on that. And Pandemonium asks, hi Lynette, can you explain the current gold system and the purpose of each actor, the Bank of England, Wall Street, etc., and how countries' strategic gold can be scattered like this? That could be a video. Do you think that could be a video? Would you guys like me to do a video on that question itself? Because I think that could be a really good video, actually. So let Josh know before I answer that, and then Brittany, you just kind of capture that, and I'll make sure. And Crypto Trader, I'm very glad to see you here. And I was told that you got ganged up on a little bit last week. And I know, right? But what I want everybody to know is that this community has to be inclusive. And a lot of times people that are into crypto have the same kind of mindset that people into gold. But why would you turn anybody away? Educate them 100%, because everybody needs to have the ability to make educated choices that puts their best interest first. But I actually welcome you asked great questions last week. These are questions that people should think about. Because I really do, and you'll see this. We've got some things in the works right now. You guys are going to love it. But we want to bring in all opinions so that you can weigh like everything and then determine what feels right for you. And that's what enables you to make educated choices. And I will always defend anybody's right for an opinion, because they're kind of like other parts of your body. Everybody's got it. That's okay. So, love your show. Thank you. And I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody being here. Quick question. Should I sell my crypto now and convert to gold, or should I wait for this bull run to hit, then use the profits to put into gold? Crypto trader, you have to do what you are comfortable doing, because in nominal terms, you're going to see that probably the crypto markets are going to keep going up, because that's the direction they want to push us in. The problem is what I see in the world turning their backs on the dollar and how quickly that is happening. And with all of the chaos, right? I mean, with all the chaos, the whole world is off balance. I would take my profits and get the gold while I can. I mean, I'm serious, because with all the volatility that's in the markets, and you remember what happened in September 2008, okay? And I was paying very close attention, because it was Shearson. That was my alma mater. That's where I first became a stockbroker, and I couldn't have told you that it was going to implode even 1 second before.
Yeah.
So you've got to do what you're comfortable with, and I promise you I will support whatever it is that you choose to do because I know that it's an educated choice.
Yeah.
Right? But if it were me, I feel a whole lot more comfortable sleeping at night, as Megan said before, knowing that I have gold. Because if you don't hold it,
You don't own it.
perfect. We didn't even practice that. And Brian McDaniel asked, I have a dilemma. I am fairly new to the precious metals. I do have a small stack set aside, but I'm concerned whether it would be better to buy more metals or look into getting land. I currently rent. So that is a bit of a dilemma. And there is a way that perhaps, are you talking about like raw land? Are you talking about a place to live and make your last stand? If it's raw land, I don't know that that's the absolute best choice because you can't live on it. You can't create that last stand, right? If you do, then similar to what we were talking about earlier with Megan, and you should just call us, right? Because we'll walk you through it and give you the information that you need. Maybe you buy this property here and you balance it out with the gold over here so that in a moment's notice, you can pay off that mortgage. Yeah. Because we are lucky here in the U.S., we can get 30-year fixed rate mortgages. And that's exactly the same strategy that the governments use in repaying debt with dollars that have no value through inflation. So maybe it's not as big a dilemma as you're thinking, but give us a call and we are happy to walk you through that and really see what is going to support you particularly. Everything is custom. I mean, they're the same foundation, but then the rest of it is just based on your circumstances and what you have to work with.
Yeah.
Hey, Lynette. So when we brought up the tariff increase back and forth with Vietnam, we lost audio, and a lot of the people in the chat want you to go back over and kind of explain that whole thing. So
okay,
I've got it here if you're ready for it.
Sure. Bring it. Okay, so these are the reciprocal tariffs. And what I was saying obviously that very first long line, those are the countries. And the shoes that Josh buys are from Vietnam. And then that blue and white column next to it are the tariffs charged to the U.S., but that includes, they have an interesting way of doing that because they're also talking about currency manipulations as a tariff. But this is what I said, and there's no doubt about this. Every single country manipulates their currency, every single one. So it's kind of funny business to show the tariffs coming into the U.S. from Vietnam at 90%. It's probably not exactly accurate. But on that gold, interesting that they chose gold for that next column. These are the U.S. tariffs, reciprocal tariffs. You'll see that it's 46% back to Vietnam. So my bet would be that Vietnam actually, depending upon what it is, but charges the U.S. somewhere around 46%. However, what are tariffs but a tax, right? And what are taxes but a confiscation, right? It's a form of confiscation, and the more quickly that you understand that, the more other things start to make sense because people think that they would never confiscate the gold again. Well, they've done it 3 times in this country, and they're continuing to do it by price manipulation of gold, the tax that they put on gold. I mean, this is real money. You don't tax money, but they do if they want you to stay away from it. So essentially, Josh is now going to be going barefoot because the cost of his shoes are going to be 40% more. No, what did they say on that? 46. They said something, 46%. The previous tariff on shoes from Vietnam was 8.5, but by next week, the tariff will be increased to 46%. That is a 541% increase. And we were talking about the line items too. The fact that this is broken out means that you know where these price increases are coming from. And it also means that the public might just realize that all of these price increases are not necessary. And so we have here, that will result in the following price increases for our shoes. So you can see that how much they're going up, but it's really a 541% increase. And it's not necessary. None of this is on a gold standard. Guess what doesn't happen? This crap. So, okay. And we did the dilemma, and KJ Free asks, Lynette, is the recent parabolic increase in gold price part of the reset? Or is the reset a separate all-at-once event? Okay, no, it is part of the reset. Actually, the reset is, any inflation is constantly resetting the value of the currency. So the central banks want a 2% target, right? Why do they pick 2%? Because then you don't notice it. They are resetting the currency slowly enough that you do not change your spending patterns, you do not ask for more money at your job, and therefore you create price stability. It's not that gallon of milk staying the same over time. That's not price stability. It's you not asking for a raise and you not changing your spending patterns. So the recent parabolic increase in the gold price is mainly due to all of the chaos on a global basis and the fact that that gold is the only safe haven asset out there, period, right? No longer is it treasury bonds, but I got news for you. It hasn't really been treasury bonds in a very long time. It's just that people don't realize that, right? So it's more about getting to safety, getting into a safe haven asset. And we know the fat fingers that have actually been taking delivery of the gold, that is a very big deal, because once that gold goes off the market, it's not coming back on again, right? So reset, you're talking about the overnight reset, and that happens all at once. So it goes back to what did Hemingway say? How did I go bankrupt? When somebody asked him, how'd you go bankrupt? And he said, slowly at first and then quickly. No, the reset is happening constantly. It has been happening to you from the day you were born. Go on to the Federal Reserve Education Department, purchasing power of the consumer dollar chart. Put your birthday in there, and you will see how much they have been confiscating from you since the day you were born. It's really quite an interesting exercise to do. And Miramar asks, Lynette, why can money systems create something from nothing? Good question. Derivatives, hypothecations, leasing nothing into existence. If I were to sell 1,000% of one thing, I would go to jail for fraud. Because we allowed it. Why can they get away with it? Because we haven't said no. That's why I'm trying to create a global sound money movement. And I do sit on the advisory board of this country's sound money movement. Get involved with it. Get as independent as you can and buy gold and silver and help make a difference. They can get away with it because we've allowed it. I mean, I look back. Now, obviously, I wasn't there in 33, but Nanny and Papa were, my parents were, right? How did they get away with that? They knew, meaning the central banks and the governments knew that they were devaluing the currency. Oh, wait, what did they do? Oh my goodness, they wrote in that any coins minted prior to 1933 were rare and unusual. So they kept the gold when they took it away from the public. But the public, because what they did, it's too messy to do this now, but I've done this before, right? They had a $20 gold certificate that ran alongside the $20 1 ounce gold coin and a $20 Federal Reserve note, right? All at the same time. All at the same purchasing power by decree, all at the same purchasing power level. And they did that for 20 years. Well, guess what? After 20 years, people got used to all three of them, so they just took two away. They took the gold certificate away, and they took the physical gold away. But they left the $20 debt instrument, the Federal Reserve note. And people were like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, because they had it in use for 20 years. That's what's happening in the crypto space. That's why they do this. But they know, you know, why is Bitcoin represented as gold? Why is it even represented in physical form, let alone as gold? You can't take hold of any Bitcoins.
No.
You know, you can carry them around in a little thumb drive, but they don't have any physical manifestation. How do they do it? We allow it. We need to stop allowing it.
Yeah.
We need to absolutely stop allowing it. Stand up. Take your power back. This is our opportunity. And even when they talk about the politics and blah, 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 and Megan can tell you, I don't get political,
Nope.
but I stay very economic. But even in that, I feel that because of all of this chaos and the transition and the resetting of the system, this is our best opportunity to get sound money gold back in the system, but it must be redeemable.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what do you have? You have Zimbabwe. Oh, yeah, the currency's backed by gold, but boop, 44% overnight reset. But it was never in physical form for the Zimbabwe gold. A couple years ago, they did actually bring out a physical gold 1 ounce coin. Well, and who could afford that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Just people. And they said it's to maintain your purchasing power. They're not issuing those anymore. And I couldn't really find out what they did about those that were already issued, but it must be redeemable. You must have the ability to pull it out of the system. It's the only way we can hold their toes to the fire and hold our government and our central banks accountable. So, yeah. Let's see. This conscious radiance, this is all happening because 30 years ago, greed and lack of foresight of what could possibly go wrong. It was in plain sight what would happen. And I agree with you, but I'll take you back even earlier than that. But I certainly remember 30 years ago. And I remember even earlier than that, back to 1971, because fortunately, I was like a late teen at that point. So I have the memories, even though I didn't understand it. I understand it now. So yeah, it is. It's all happening, and it is because of greed and lack of foresight, or maybe not lack of foresight, but absolutely greed. Absolutely greed. Totally. And Piotr, I'm so sorry. Piotr Wodelko. Let's see silver coin with minted.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? And if you can text him privately, or anybody. Actually, where are they? Do you
Oh,
see
the
one of
one-
the Lynette bills?
Yeah,
Here,
right
it's
here.
right there. Okay. So we are redoing these bills, okay? Anybody that wants one, actually, probably this is not a great place to do it, but if you will, and they don't even know that I'm telling them yet, so if you start flooding the email questions at LynetteZang.com, we will send you, I will autograph it, and we will send this to you. So just go ahead and send in your request, but there's my face on a bill. And we've got some other things coming, so have some patience. It's very exciting. Everything that's happening is very exciting.
Oh, Colleen wants to know if I ever met Uncle Al. I did not.
No.
Did I meet him as a baby?
No, he was.
Yeah.
Actually, you did, because he came to your first birthday party.
Okay,
But then
I
he
did.
passed after. He passed shortly after that, and so did Aunt Bertie. But yeah, you did meet Uncle Al, and I almost wore a necklace. I put it on, but it didn't really look good with what I was wearing, so I took it off. I almost wore a necklace that he gave me today.
Aw, that's nice.
So, yep. And Jay Jones asked, at what prices does gold go to that makes the dollar go to zero? Is there a price in gold that means the dollar is zero? Well, it would be the fundamental value, and that is somewhere north of $40,000 an ounce. So, yeah, by the time gold hits that and silver hits its $2,000 an ounce, guess what? Everybody's going to know the dollar is at zero.
Yeah.
And Sunday Money asks, but how will they restructure debt? Great question. How will they restructure debt such as mortgages, car loans, credit cards in the new system? Okay, first of all, Josh, I did a video maybe 6-8 months ago on what happens to real estate and gold, the relationship during hyperinflation. So Sunday Money, I would encourage you to watch that, because that will show you how they do restructure that debt. But as an individual, while governments are repaying the debt with dollars that have no value, our strategy is that you're doing the same thing. So any fixed rate debt, you just have to properly balance it out with gold. Call us with whatever fixed rate debt you have, and we can tell you how much gold you need to repay that. Now, I want you to understand, though, the more of this stuff that they print, the higher the fundamental value of sound money goes, right? So what might take 10 ounces now might take a quarter of an ounce when they do that overnight reset, okay? Now, credit cards is different, because that is or any variable rate debt, that's a problem. Because as the hyperinflation unfolds, you will see interest rates go up higher and higher and higher. So much so that no matter what you're paying on that credit card, you're not paying down any principal. And so it is that variable rate debt that gets you into major trouble during hyperinflation. But the fixed rate debt, it's all part of the plan. And the only reason, Megan can tell you this too, the only reason that I have a mortgage on this house is because I really want to execute the plan with you. And she's going to be doing it too. So watch that video. Actually, I encourage everybody to watch that video, because it's also going to show you the opportunities that present during these periods of time, which went to a different question. And James asked, does it make sense to buy real estate right now, even if it's overvalued? If you can pay off your loan with worthless currency that everybody is ditching, what is the downside? The only reason why, first of all, if I'm going to buy a property right now for speculation, no, it's not the time to do that. But like I said earlier, you got to have a place to make your last stand. You've got to have shelter over your head, roof over your head. So yeah, exactly. Doesn't matter if it's overvalued, because you're going to be paying it off with dollars that are worthless. Can you get into real estate for absolutely nothing down and then you got to carry it? Blah, blah, blah. No speculation. Just make sure that you have a place where you can create your last stand: food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. And yeah, because we can deal with that fixed rate debt. That's an advantage that we have. Mm-hmm. There isn't a downside. And Delan lands, however, wait, let me just kind of go back. If you start to speculate, you have to carry that debt. That could become a problem if, like we were talking about earlier, people losing their jobs. So that's the downside on speculation. This is not a time to speculate. This is a time to get to safety and just stay there. Just stay there. You're gonna be glad you did. Yeah. I can't tell you it's gonna be Tuesday morning at 8:35, but let me tell you, if it is, you're gonna be glad that you have your plan in place. And Delana Lands asked, it looks like your emergency coins are raw, pre-33. Does it matter if they are common date? Nope. Any condition? Yep, any condition. Do you choose this coin primarily for its insurance against confiscation? Yes, I do. Because it's just a raw ounce of gold. It's my emergency savings. And yep, that's exactly what it is. Raw pre-33. It can be a saint. It can be a lib. It doesn't really matter. Condition doesn't matter. I just have it for the gold. That's it. So I'm glad that you noticed that. Yes. And Pandemonium asks, does it make sense to buy collectible silver? If so, what's its function inside of your strategy? Something that, the dynastic wealth stool is made up of those three legs. So if you get like a really super rare collectible silver coin, then that could make some sense. I would probably go to the level of a dynastic wealth, maybe like a super early, super rare, toned, well-toned, rainbow-toned silver coin, but I don't really do slabbed coins for the strategy at all, because primarily for me, silver is about barterability. So I like the constitutional silver, right? The different sizes, dimes, quarters, half dollars. I'll do rounds, I'll do what have you. But I don't really, I do the collectible silver for Warner, not the super high-end ones. Yeah. But he does love them so much. Yeah. I gave him a Carson City silver dollar for his birthday last year. And I mean, he was like, oh, he was so excited with it.
You gave him a gold coin for getting you a glass of water or a hug or something.
$15. He can talk me into anything. It's true. Yeah, I let him buy a gold coin from me for $15.
Yeah, I remember it was something that I'm like, Warner, you just got the deal of a lifetime.
But he's good with it. It's not like he's playing with it.
Yeah.
And Jacob Wasserman asks, gold to silver ratio is currently at 1 to 100. Historically, it was 1 to 12. Actually, 1 to 20. Okay. 1 to 16. Would you say that silver is a better buy than gold? Existent, non-existent ratio is gold futures 1 to 130 and silver futures 1 to 375. Honestly, with all of the paper gold and silver in the system, it just masks what the truth is. I don't personally care very much about that gold to silver ratio, because that is more about trading, not strategy. So I look at all of this through the eyes of functionality. What am I trying to accomplish? That's what I want to know. And then it's the right tool for the job. Silver for me is about barterability. So I want fractional silver. I don't have any silver that's greater than, other than, probably I do have some silver pieces. But as far as coinage goes, or bars go, I don't own any silver over an ounce, because it's about barterability. So personally, I don't really care that much about the ratio, only because you care about the ratio. But I also have done enough studies, and I think I might have done one here, or maybe I have to do one here. I don't remember exactly. But what you'll see is we will get a point where that gold to silver ratio will begin to narrow, but then it's going to get bigger as we go into the hyperinflation. So it's not really even relevant during a currency regime shift. It's not really relevant. So I don't care about the gold and silver ratio, because I'm not trading. This is about functionality for me. And Elsie asks, do you guys have premiums? Well, yes, and the wholesaler will also have a premium, and it depends on what you're doing. Give us a call. We reveal everything. We're very upfront about that, because we believe in educated choices. And after all, we have to stay in business, right? So that I can do these things and I don't have to worry about it. Because I don't really want to make a subscription thing on this. I just want to give this information out for free.
Yeah.
So we're trying to change the world, make the world a better place for the future. And Michael F. asks, so what is the guarantee that they will let you keep the pre-33 this time around? There's no guarantee. I can't guarantee that. That's beyond my control. However, what I'm doing is I'm positioning myself into the same exact area that the wealthy, the guys that can either influence those that write the laws or actually do write the laws. So because there are pre-33, I think I have my slab coin.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So there are coins that are slabbed like this that could go for $15 million or more for 1 ounce of gold. Obviously, that's not what I'm doing. That's way above fundamental value. So all of the coins that I buy for myself personally are below the fundamental value, which, by the way, then eats up any of those premiums. That's another reason why it's important to know that. But I'm pretty sure this is what I think it's going to look like. I remember when I used to say, and when gold's at $2,000 an ounce, but I can't say that anymore. So I'll say, let's say gold is at $5,000 an ounce, and they decide to do an overt confiscation, but they don't want your pushback. So, and most of the gold is that people own in this country anyway are inside of IRAs. So what they would do is say, okay, well, it's your patriotic duty and we have to do this to protect the US dollar, blah, 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 blah. And they would say, and we'll pay you $6,000 for that. And most people believing Wall Street, I don't know why, but they do, will say, well, wow, gold is only worth $5,000 and look at how awesome the government's being or the central bank is being. They're going to pay me $6,000. And they do a huge sweep of the IRAs and they would get most of the gold that people are having. Because those eminent domain laws say that the government can take anything. They can come in and say, no, we're taking that too. Okay, but this is less than 2% of the total gold that's out there. It's a minute percent, and anybody that paid $15 million for a coin is not going to be turning it in for $6,000. It's not going to happen. So I want that category. The easiest way to find out what that category is you go into the IRS documents and they'll tell you if you can't hold it inside of an IRA, that's the kind of gold that I want because it is not classified as monetary gold. This gold that you can hold inside of the IRA is classified as monetary gold. So there is no guarantee, but the likelihood of somebody that can spend that level of money on a coin to be writing the laws just like Treasury Secretary Wooden did in 33. So that's as much of a guarantee as I can give you. And remember, Uncle Al, who came up, he had those 2 floor safes stacked with the pre-33 gold coins that he could use legally in the markets. And I'm executing a strategy. I want to be able to use my stuff legally. I don't want to have to go to the black market for it. And Life with Darnell asks, don't worry, it's not crypto. You know what? I wouldn't be worried if it was crypto. I'm going to be doing the XRP show the end of this month. What's the 21st, I think, or something like that? 29th? Okay, I'm off by a few days. They point me in a direction and I go there. It's fine. I want to go. I know, baby. You could go if you want. It's just blockchain-based. Okay. It's just blockchain-based, real-time digital asset settlement networks run by banks and governments. Totally different, right? Boy, sure makes it easy to track everything that you have. And by the way, even more than that, this has been in the works for so long. They can take any equity that you own and break it down to itty-bitty, teeny-weeny pieces. Pretty much everybody carries the cell phone with them. You can carry all the equity on everything that you own in here. And because it's on blockchain run by banks and governments, they break it down, and you see that nice boat that you want, ba-bam, you sell the equity in your house and you don't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah.
The easier it is to spend your money, the more money and the quicker that you do actually spend it. So yeah, right.
Yeah.
And they've talked about this. And that's also a way to move global wealth around the world. And before you know it, you will own nothing. But I don't think you'll be happy.
I've seen those apps where it's like you can hold your equity of your house and use it. I've seen things like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely coming.
Yeah.
And they told us about this. Gosh, I've been talking about this. I remember doing a video on it in 2015.
Yeah.
You know, it's there. You can go along with it or not. And Ann Lunex asked, I just exchanged my silver for gold. I got pre-33 gold only. Thank you, thank you. She doesn't even know it. I was a senior citizen, widow, and without her, I would have been home. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I would have been homeless when the dollar crashes.
You saved your life.
Thank you so much. I don't even really know how to respond to that because I'm here to be of service. So if I've been of service, thank you. Really, thank you. I'm not kidding. I got chills. Wow. Okay, Bill 457. How do you feel about platinum and palladium? Well, I do happen to have a bit of platinum, but it is an industrial metal. It is more rare than gold and certainly more rare than silver, but it is not a monetary metal, and neither is palladium. So because this is a currency life cycle issue, my personal focus really is on the currency metals, which are gold and silver. And Delana Lands asks, will any silver round do? We're just looking for the best price for 1 troy ounce. Doesn't have to be a silver eagle. Absolutely. Darling, here's some of my silver. And I was just telling Josh that if they wanted to do a video, I could just bring in a whole tub of the silver, sterling, 925 silver that I have. So yes, absolutely. I don't care. I have rounds, I have eagles, I have Philharmonics, I have pre-64. It's not as important. Don't stick only with the 1 ouncers. Make sure that you have fractional coins as well. A fractional coin is a piece below an ounce. And if I have a variety of sizes, and I encourage a variety of sizes, but if you're only going into one size, then my personal preference are dimes, because it is easier to put 2 dimes together than to break a quarter in half. Although I will tell you right now, I wouldn't give a hoot about clipping off however much silver of this stuff that I needed. So, yeah, I don't care what the silver is. Any silver in any form is good to me. I like it. I have it all. What if gold prices go up so much that no one will be able to buy it from you? That is a great question, and I want to bring you back to the Depression, because I'm pretty sure that most of the population had absolutely no money. But do you remember Seabiscuit? And do you remember that they put $100,000 purse, which would be probably $10 million now, up for Seabiscuit? And my point is that globally on average, you're right, 80% of the population ends up in absolutely abject poverty. And I don't want that to happen to anybody now. That's why that community building, to make sure that you have your necessities met, are so important. But not 100% of the people end up in abject poverty. In places like Venezuela and in Zimbabwe, it's 90% in abject poverty. But I didn't say 100%. And the reason why is because wealth never disappears. It merely shifts location. And so anybody that holds their purchasing power tight is going to have the ability to take advantage when the overvalued assets and instruments right now are undervalued, or go away, and we can have a clear vision of who's actually going to survive this mess. So yeah, there's always people that will be able to buy it. And the other point is, you're thinking of it like, well, I'm buying this coin and then I'm going to hold this coin. But I want you to understand that gold and silver are used in every single sector of the global economy. That's why they are 100% tangible assets, right? And they have value, that fundamental, that intrinsic value.
Yeah.
So you've got the broadest base of buyer of anything, right? So that's why. And John Ream asks, don't you think the federal overseers will do a bail-in confiscating cryptos and bank accounts? Yes, I do, 100%. I mean, my goodness, I don't know that we have the ability to put that clip, the FDIC clip in there, but yeah, they laugh about it. Yes, there will be bail-ins. If crypto has value, if they have the stable coins that are backed 1-to-1, yes, it's all a big bail-in, except if you hold gold and you hold silver, because then you hold it, it runs zero counterparty risk, and you own it, and you've got the broadest base of buyer. And Nandu Hage, how would you pronounce that? She's laughing at me. Okay, I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. Do you think Roth IRAs are safe, or would it be better to buy gold and silver outside of all government propaganda garbage? Yes, I used to have a SEP IRA. When we got to a certain point in the trend cycle, I no longer felt comfortable with that, and so I liquidated it, and I have a great retirement, and it's all in gold and silver, but I hold it and control it. So yes, I do think so. And do you think, would it be better to buy gold and silver instead, 100% outside of the system, where it is you hold it, but it's invisible to everybody else? And Dave F. asks, after the first gold revaluation, will it be a long or short time for the next revaluation? Love you, and I love you too. And I appreciate everybody being here. And the answer to that is, it depends. As we saw in Zimbabwe, they came out with their 6th iteration of a currency in April, and they did an overnight revaluation in October. So, and what it depends upon is the confidence level. And you guys know I talk about this all the time with consumer confidence, consumer sentiment. Once the public loses confidence in the money, it's very, very hard to get it back again. So typically what happens is we do this overnight revaluation, and then gold starts going up again because, okay, so this is a little more complicated than that, but on average, you've got gold prices holding up, right? So they spike up on that overnight revaluation, and then they hold there for about 9 months. I can't guarantee that, and that's why when we get that very first revaluation, we will be paying off those mortgages, okay?
Yay.
I know. We will be paying those off. But what also then happens is then gold too gets revalued down, but then it immediately starts climbing up. So it really is dependent. The frequency of those revaluations are really dependent upon whether or not they can sucker the population into trusting. Because it's, for some weird reason, I don't know why, but for some weird reason, they usually can get away with about 3 revaluations where the public will still retain, until the third one, a certain level of hopium, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is going to regain, what have you, and when it's actually not ever going to regain. So I can take a look and see if there's anything that's kind of standard between that, but it really is all dependent upon that confidence level and the reflation and the hyperinflation that continues on, because they just changed the formula. They didn't change behavior. Let's see. And Michael Lamb asks, your thought about Kinesis Money and Andrew Maguire's entity. I actually really have a lot of respect for Andrew, and really, I know you say if you don't hold it, you don't own it. I can see where a form of digital gold, as long as you can pull it out, which you can with Kinesis Gold, makes some sense for the very first part of the strategy. That would not be where I would put all of my gold holdings, because if you don't hold it, you don't own it. But I could see it for a percentage, a small percentage of your gold holdings, because it does bring it into the digital age. So I'm not exactly opposed to that at all. And I love Andrew, and we might actually be going to London soon. I know. Megan is my traveler. When she was 15, she went to study in Israel. Remember that?
Yeah.
I was so scared, but she got a scholarship, and she worked so hard to get this that I couldn't say no, that's what she wanted to do. I'm bawling my eyes out as she's walking on the ramp to go to the plane. She never even looked back.
Back when you could go to the gate.
Yeah, back when you could go to the gate.
Yeah.
That was a while ago.
You're aging me.
Time is aging you, Megs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, do you want to? Yeah, she doesn't even care where. She'll go anywhere. But Deb asks, you don't care about the ratio, but is there a time when you would recommend exchanging silver for gold if you need more gold? The answer is yes for that. And, the strategy at Zang Enterprises, the sound money strategy is about defining what you're trying to accomplish. And then we have things set up on a spreadsheet that's divided between, well, this is better done with silver, this is better done with gold. So you've got your barterable portfolio that would be a combination of the two, depending upon what you need to accomplish with it. And so that actually is what determines, well, how much silver should I hold and how much gold I should hold. So it kind of depends, because in truth, you can do what we're talking about with silver or gold. The difference is you need a whole lot more silver, and it kind of becomes unwieldy than you do with gold. So I'm going to encourage you to call us, talk to one of our strategy specialists, and go over what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish and what you already have before you decide, well, I'll just do this. It's putting the horses before the cart.
Yeah.
And that's what we really like to do.
And just like the gold makes you feel really secure, also having a plan makes you feel really secure, and they go hand in hand. My friends ask me all the time, what gold should I buy? What silver should I buy? And I'm like, I can't answer that question without knowing a lot more about your situation.
Yeah.
So
do you want to come and work at Zang Enterprises?
I just tell them to call. I just tell them to call.
That's it.
Yeah.
But if you want to, a lot, you could.
Yeah.
And SB69, what is the price to buy pre-33 gold coins now? Well, it depends on what you're buying, right? Yesterday I got pricing on this simply because I was using that example, taking you back to 1913. This has a $20 face value. You think in 1913 they thought this would ever be $3,900. They would have looked at you like 3 billion heads that you had. And so this was about $3,900 yesterday. This, according to Jeff, who is our finance manager over there, I think that he said a lot of these are somewhere around 4,800, something like that. But again, it kind of depends on what you're trying to accomplish, because I certainly have coins that for legacy building are a lot more than that. And then there's some that are less. So I'd say your low end is probably somewhere around 39, something like that. And Pandemonium at Lynette Zang. What would happen if a country wants its... Oh, this is such a great question, and I'm waiting to see this answer. But what would happen if a country wants its gold back, but it's not there? You mean like at the Bank of England that shipped all of those countries' gold over to the U.S. and they got shipped out? We're about to find out. And even if they go inside the open market, what if no one wants to sell their gold? Is it a casus belli? I'm not sure what that means, but yep, it would be a casus belli. It would be a bad belly, I'm telling you. I mean, what would happen is you would see the price of gold and the demand for gold explode. Now, I think that they can still manipulate the spot market, but we were talking about premiums earlier. You would see those premiums explode even if they were suppressing the visible price because they didn't want you to realize what was happening. But that's what would happen.
Can I make a graceful exit because I have to pick up Warner from school?
Yes, you can. Okay.
Bye.
So we're going to go on standby for just 1 second, but I will be right back. And thank you so much for coming today. This was great.
Yeah, thank you.
One. Okay. So she had to go get my grandson. And I don't know when you're going to meet him, but he's been on air with me before, and it's just fabulous. Okay. Krista asks, if retiring soon and retirement funds are in metals and not 401k pension, how do we know which metal, silver or gold, to access for living expenses, and how much cash should they have? What you'll do is you will call our strategy specialists, and based upon your needs, they will set up your strategy, which is built in layers. Okay, it's built in layers so that no matter where you are in this trend cycle, you are ready to deal with it. So that is not a problem, but again, it's going to be based on your circumstances and what your goals are. So if you're getting ready to retire and you're going to have need of income, that will determine that a higher level of cash in your strategy than, say, somebody that is continuing to work. Then you wouldn't need as high a level of cash. But call us, and we'll help you figure that one out too. And Chris Willis asks, how can you tell if homewards are sterling silver, i.e., candlesticks? Okay, we just did a little short on that because Josh just had that same question, and it's marked on the back, right? And it will say sterling. And then you know it's 92.5% pure. Also, silver and gold, neither one of them are magnetic. So what I suggested to Josh is that he get a good, powerful loop, and he just keeps it with him along with a magnet. And then you can do that determination. But look, because it will be marked. I know I handed this to Josh, and he's like, oh, it's not marked. Well, it is. You might have to hunt for the mark a little bit, but I don't know where it is. Oh, here it is. Okay. And it could be hard to see, but if it's not marked, it's not sterling. So it could also be marked 925, which is Mexican silver, and also 92.5% pure. But if you're hunting for this kind of stuff, it will be marked. If it's not sterling. And can the government confiscate the gold in the gold-backed IRAs? Yes, they can, Deborah. Yes, they can. And Connie Karn asks, Megan and LZ, Megan already left, sorry, but how do we teach our children about what sound money should be when their experience of money, isn't that a good question, is in an app, digital online shopping, or only handing fiat at birthday parties. Thank you. Well, number one, and we're putting together some things to help with that too. But just like I was talking to Megan, and what do I give my grandson? I always give him a piece of silver. And I explained to him, because what is sound money? Sound money is money that cannot be inflated away. So it is at a higher level than governments or central banks because it is universal money with the broadest base of demand. Also know that we are working on coming up with a series. The Tuttle twins do a great series on gold and silver. So you might want to check those out for your children. But also, we are coming out with this whole series. Is it okay if I tell them what the name is, do you think? Or should we wait? No? Wait. Okay. Well, I'm just going to tease you, but we're working on that too. We're working on different games and different, this whole series that will be geared more toward the kids to help them understand what sound money is, because that's who I'm fighting for. Me, I'm old. I'm going to be around for another, I think, 30 years or 29 and a half because my birthday's in October. And so I'm set, but it's the job for my grandkids and their kids and their kids and their kids. That's what this battle is about. And so I think it's important to start educating children about what sound money is. The Tuttle twins would be a great start. And also just giving them an ounce of silver, a constitutional $50, right? Pre-64. Something like that, getting sound money in their hands and explaining this is what you've got in the apps. That's just for barter. That's all it is. And taking them to the Federal Reserve website, the purchasing power, and explaining that. And let us know how we can help. So as we start to roll out these other parts that are more geared toward younger kids and that part of the education, honestly, I think they'll be for everybody. That's what I'm thinking. But let us know what we can do better. Let us know, even in any of these, if something's confusing or it doesn't make sense, don't put it on you, put it on me, because my job is to translate financial noise so that you can make educated choices that puts your best interest first. And that's what I really, 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 really want to do. And I really want to educate the kids. So coming soon, but a great start. Get them gold, get them silver, and let them experience it. And can you please, Leah and Sloth Adventure, can you please talk a little bit about XRP? Well, I am not going there to speak about the cryptocurrency of XRP. I'm going there to speak about gold and silver and show people how they make the transition invisible. So I have 2 breakouts when I'm there. And plus I think I'm sitting on, I don't know, 2 or 3 panels, something like that. So I'll be around quite a bit, but I'm very excited. Last year, XRP surprised me like crazy because I expected nothing out of it. But yeah, I'm there to build community. That's why I'm going. Help people understand. And I'm not saying you shouldn't buy XRP or Bitcoin or anything else that you might think is a good thing to do. What I am saying is that you also want to be properly diversified. It's always, what if I'm right? And what if I'm wrong? And if you can do something that really doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, that's what I believe you should do. Then it's a no-brainer. You get to sleep at night and it's no big deal. And what is a powerful loop? 10 times? I'd probably go to the most powerful, probably 20 times. I mean, you could probably see it with 10. But I'd probably go 20 times. I mean, the loops aren't very expensive, so, and the more that you can see, the better off you're going to be. But yes, that's exactly what a loop is. Do I have one in here? This is not a great loop. but it'll kind of give you, and they can look all different ways too. This is a magnifying loop. So if I'm going to look at something, I'll take my glasses off to do it. And then I'll just kind of adjust it until I can really see. So yes, it is a magnifying glass. And they look different. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of loops. And Mike asks, Lynette, do you still have plans for that online marketplace to go online? Yes, and I think we're getting really close with it. This is the only way I'd feel inclined to buy from you guys. Doing it online makes it easier. Rock and roll hoochie coo, Mike. I don't know exactly the day, but I think, aren't they starting to run some tests on that next week? Do we know?
I know we're getting closer, like the finer details are getting...
Into the mic.
I know that we're getting a lot closer. I know that we're putting in some of the finer details, but I'll have to speak with Emerald and find out where we are exactly on that.
Yeah. And maybe you can write that down, and we'll let you know if we have an ETA. But I think they want to make sure that all the bugs are worked out of it, because we had done one, and then we had to take it down, and we had to go and rebuild our whole website, blah, blah, blah. All of that kind of stuff. But, yeah, it's going on soon, Mike. And we want to make it as easy for you as possible, but we also want to meet you wherever you are, right? So for those that like more of a personal concierge touch, give us a call and we will spend as much time with you as you need and help you understand and help you make choices if that's what you need from us, however we can be of service. That's what we're about. If you just want to go on and buy bullion online, well, we're making that easy for you too. We want to meet you where you are and we want to be of service. Michael Lamb asked, tons of gold have been coming to the U.S. What's to say that the Treasury is not buying it up with new printed fake money? Yeah, I mean, if you think everything is transparent, think again. It could be. Could they be placing what's missing in the COMEX, Fort Knox, and Fed location? It's anybody's guess. They could be certainly preparing, because somebody asked about what is a gold rush. Could I show an example? And the gold, in the late 1800s, there was a gold rush in California. I actually have a scale from that period of time, which I didn't pull out because I got the question after I was already sitting in here, but we could take some pictures and show it on social media. And then look what people with what gold has been battling ever since. The devaluation that the governments and central bankers want to do so that you're working for less, but you don't even know it. That they're stealing your wealth and you don't even know it. I mean, it's criminal. It's absolutely criminal. I'd put them all in jail if it were up to me, but not. And Irish Fitter, how do you feel about life insurance? For a number of years, I actually had term life insurance so that if anything happened to me while I was still raising my girls, everything was taken care of and they could go to college and all of that. That's the only kind of life insurance that actually makes sense for me, because that is absolutely a contract, and any contract is only as good as the other entity on the other side of the contract. And I hate to say this, but I don't really feel very comfortable with most insurance companies. So you really have to kind of, if you're going to do any insurance, even life insurance, even term, you really need to see who actually owns that company, because what's been happening in that arena is that a lot of private equity have been going in, buying up insurers, and then creating products to sell the life insurance companies. Wait, what? I hope you followed that, because what they're doing is they're creating garbage and then putting it inside of annuities or inside of whole life, inside of this, inside of that. So if you are sitting on any kind of insurance, you want to go back and see who actually owns that company and if they have been taken over by a private equity investor or not. If they're owned by private equity, I got to tell you, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole because that's just a big accident waiting to happen. Even not, though, because of all of the manipulations around interest rates, right? What happened to them after 2008? Then interest rates were stuck at zero for about 15 years. Yet life insurance or any insurance companies that have made a commitment to pay out, like, say, with an annuity or fixed rate annuity down the road, these insurance companies have been forced out on the risk spectrum to gain more yield. And I think that risk is going to be, if it's not already happening, blowing up in their face. So this is the insurance that I trust. I don't trust anything else because the system is just too dirty and convoluted, and it's just full of garbage. What can I tell you? It's full of garbage. And, oh, hi, Resistance Chicks. Love you. Resistance Chicks Church asked, are you still doing the color charts label so people know the coins they have? 100%. Yes, we are. We have the boxes in. We have the labels because we want to make sure that you understand what everything that all of the choices that you make, how do they fit into your strategy? When do you use them? Where do you use them? So we've color coded, on your strategy itself, you'll see that it's all color coded. So you know what the function of those coins are. And then we have stickers that go on the top of the coins, and we have special boxes for them so that you could put them all in and make it very easy. So thank you for asking that, because the answer is yes. Yes. And we just got the boxes in. I've approved the stickers, so I don't know if we've ordered enough yet, but we're on the verge of everything. It seems like in so many ways that we've been here forever, but actually it's just a little bit. I mean, we only started selling not quite a year ago, not even a year ago. So we've sure done an awful lot in a year. I mean, it's enough to make your head swim, but, and we're not done. We have so many things that we're working on, and I have such an incredible community around me. Smart. Just the highest quality people. I love it. I love it. And Connie Karn, okay. Theft. Many dealers have had issues lately after gold surpassed 3,000 with shipments being stolen at the source. What is Zang's approach to combat theft of shipments leaving your facility? Well, number one, 100% of everything we do is done under camera. Number two, everything we do is registered and insured. So if there is a theft, we can recoup that very quickly. Now, this would not be the first time that I've actually experienced a theft of gold. It was a while ago. I'm going to think maybe about 10 years ago. Yeah, about 10 years ago, when there was this ring of a theft ring that was working out of the Atlanta airport. And it was a new client that had just come in, placed his first order, and the first order and it was just a test order to see, if he was going to get the gold, and it was stolen. But because we sent it registered and insured, it was very rapidly that we replaced everything. And that's a big part of the key. We have some other things that we may be doing in the future, and when we do, I'll let you know, but I don't want to talk about them now because we're not doing it yet. But everything is registered and insured. So if that were to happen, we will replace it immediately. No worries. And Sage and Fool asks, you always show the chopstick. Yep. Where are my chopsticks? Right here. Okay. You always show the chopstick bond yield explanation. I don't understand. Oh, okay. Can you explain why the yields go up or down versus bond prices? Okay. So yields are the central bank's key tool to regulate the rate and speed of inflation. So when they push interest rates up, fewer people borrow and spend. But and when they push yields down, more people borrow and spend. But bonds must always be priced at market. So when they issue the bond, they might issue it at $1,000 with a coupon of 5%. I'm just going to make my life easy. Don't hold me to any of these equations, but this is how it works. Okay. So they issue the bond at $1,000 with a coupon of 5%. If interest rates were to go up to, say, 10%, why would anybody buy at par that bond at 5%? They wouldn't. But for the owner of that bond at 5%, why would you sell it unless you captured that premium, right? So that's why you see it's the market value. The principal always stays the same. The 1,000, if that's what it was issued at, it's going to stay the same. It's the market value, because bonds will always be priced at market. And that's why you'll see if interest rates go down, the market price of the bond goes up. If interest rates go up, the market price of the bond goes down. And that 15 years of zero interest rate that the banks are sitting and corporations are sitting and insurance companies are sitting on all of that zero interest rate debt, they are in the toilet, right? Those bonds are in the toilet. Let me know if Sage and Fool, if I explained that well enough, because if I didn't, I will try again. And it's not you, it's my job to explain it. So if that did it, let me know. If it didn't do it, let me know. We'll go again. And Lone Babao asks, do you sell gold and silver in England? Thank you. Not yet, but we're working on it. And Pre-Civil War asks, I'm a single 60-year-old single man, no debt, 18 MS-62 gold double eagle Liberties coins in my safe. That a good place to be? That is a great place to be. And you might have some women that might want to make you not single. We could start a dating service here with the community. What a concept. But yes, but it also depends. I'm going to go back to, is that going to fulfill all your goals? Call us. Let's have that conversation, and we can make sure that you are exactly where you should be. And Pandemonium asks, can we say that banks are going to face a crisis of solvency? Yes, we can, and not a crisis of liquidity as usual. I think it's both of those. They are going through a liquidity crisis right now, and the underlying level of the value of most of their portfolio in terms of mortgages, in terms of any fixed rate debt that they issued in that 15 years or any of that fixed rate debt that they bought. Yeah, they are absolutely insolvent. The Federal Reserve, the central banks, for goodness sakes, they're all insolvent. And it is showing up as a liquidity crisis. And that's the volatility that you see in these markets, is a lack of liquidity. And that's been building over time. And just to define liquidity for people so that they're clear on what that means, liquidity is the ability to buy or sell whatever it is without moving the price a whole lot. Right? So if there's an entity that wants to buy a lot of treasuries right now, they can't do it all at once because it would have too big an impact on the price move, right? So it's going to be both. It's solvency and liquidity. And Gwen Samuelson asks, I cannot convince my husband to pull out of his 401k early. He just turned 48 years old, and I know you cannot pull out of your 401k until you are 59 and a half without paying a penalty. Suggestions. Well, number one, I have a few suggestions. If he's going to keep whatever he's going to keep in the 401k, then make sure outside of the 401k, you are properly diversified with the right amount of gold. So that if that 401k goes to zero, doesn't impact you, right? So that's a big one, is to make sure that you are properly diversified. And beyond that, if you could get him to watch some of our videos, that's really hard. But as things are changing around him and becoming more chaotic, he might just be a bit more open. Also, inside of the 401k, I don't know if he's open to doing this, but he might have the ability to do an in-service withdrawal rollover election. In-service withdrawal rollover election. You would have to check with his administrator. If he has that ability inside of his 401k, then typically you could, and it's been a while since I looked at it, so these numbers could be different, but you could take 50,000 or 50%, whichever is lower, roll it into a traditional IRA, and from there, I mean, I personally am not really keen on gold IRAs because if you don't hold it, you don't own it. But you're going to have to edge, it could have to be maybe to his level of comfort because you can't force anybody to do anything. You just can't. So if, however, once it's in that traditional IRA, then you could take a distribution from that. That's a lot easier to take a distribution than from a 401k. But so diversify to make sure that you have the right amount of gold so that if his 401k goes to zero, it doesn't matter to you. What if I'm right? What if I'm wrong? Beyond that, if you can borrow against it and buy gold and silver because you're repaying yourself, so it doesn't matter, or you can do an in-service withdrawal rollover election, those are some other options. And Alan Schnuel asks, so a store is closing their jewelry department and selling 14 karat gold pendants at 75% off. Would that be something you would buy? Well, you do see me wear a lot of jewelry, so that's not my first go-to for investment, but 100%, because gold and silver at its base is monetary. 14 karat is 58% pure. So even at, you'd have to get the weight, right? And then you'd have to look at the spot. I mean, there's usually like a 300% markup in jewelry, typically. So even at 75% off could be a deal. Yeah. But just 14 carats is 58% pure. So now you just have to do the math. And then that can help you understand whether or not it's something you want to buy. But yeah, that would be something I would buy for sure. I wouldn't do all of my wealth in it, but 100%. Yeah, I would buy that. Oh, I'm not wearing necklaces. But yeah, I would buy it. And Sage and Fool asks, okay, I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. So if I have a bond worth $1,000 at 5% and the interest rate goes up to 10%, okay. So I might have goofed that up, right? So you have the bond at 5%. You paid $1,000 for it. This is where it was issued, right? And the interest rate goes up to 10%. Then actually the market value of the bond would go down. If the interest rate went to 2.5%, the market value of the bond would go up. If this is when issued, right, and this is maturity, you get the greatest fluctuation in market price the longer the maturity. Least fluctuation, the shorter maturity. And I might have said that wrong. So do not apologize. Honest to goodness, I'm only human, and I think I screwed that one up. Let me own that. I do. Would that make sense to you now? Let us know. Let us know. And Lynn Cullum asked, credit unions safer than big banks? I don't really think so, because the credit unions are dependent upon the commercial banks to get all their money from. So I don't think they are safer. I mean, I'm sorry, but I just don't think any wealth held in the system is safe. And it isn't that they don't realize that, because I don't think that the people that work in these places, have bad intentions, or they just don't know. And you don't know what you need to know that you don't know. So no, I don't think so. That's it? Okay. Well, this was a good session. I really hope that you got a lot out of having Megan here, because when we were having that conversation, I was just like, come on in and talk about it. This is the experience that the small businesses are having. Are you feeling it? Have you experienced the tariff tax yet? But you will. Everybody's going to. There's no escaping that. Unless you have your backyard chickens, and you don't have to worry about the price of eggs. So just become as independent as you possibly can, and let's do it inside a local community. Go to the farmers market, go to the community gardens, get to meet people that, maybe they won't have exactly your thought process, but they're going to be closer to it. Create that security around your necessities, and also let's form that global revolution. All we have to do is buy gold and silver. If enough of us do it, we can have an impact on the next iteration of money. But I got to say, yay to Florida. Woohoo! Legalizing gold and silver. Great job. That makes me so happy. Progress, you see? Progress. And until next we meet, please be safe out there. Bye-bye.